Where?
Hold my hand.
Where hold your hands
Close your eyes. Do you see into me?
on? I see it to you. You funny. Give me a kiss.
All right. Okay. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It has been a minute.
Hi,
Welcome,
everybody.
welcome to Uncommon Love. I'm Sean.
I'm Adrian.
Yes, and it's been a minute. Yes, it's been a while since we've been able to reach out to you. Thank you all for hanging around and waiting. As I alluded to before, many of you are already waiting for what we're going to talk about next.
We have legit reasons.
Yes, we do have legit reasons. You know, there's some things that are going on with her, some different advancement opportunities, and of course, my thing is scheduling. So we definitely need
We have
to
a
get.
new baby.
Yes, we do. We do have a new grandchild, a healthy girl, which is awesome.
She's
So
5 days old, I think, today.
yes, actually 5 days today. That's
But
right.
there was a lot with that. I had to be there for my daughter because there was a lot of ups and downs the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Getting her not being here too early. So even though she still came early, but she was healthy. So yep, she's a blessing.
So even with everything that we are doing for you, you know, life is still happening for us. So, but we want to make sure that we're still availing ourselves to you all as well. So the topic that we're going to talk about, believe it or not, I've already sent it out a little while ago saying, stay tuned. Yes, stay tuned for this topic. And many of you have been, well, when is it happening? When does it happen? Well, guess what? It's happening tonight. And that topic is see into me with a question mark. So it's an exclamation point because many of standards, whether male or female, really want people to see into them. But then there's others. Are you sure? I'm not sure if I want anybody to really see into me or not. So see into me is code name for intimacy. Yeah. Code name for intimacy because into me see. And if we're to flip that, see into me. We want people to see into us. It's not about all the physical stuff all the time. Let's start with the communication piece. Why, when you talk about people wanting to see into them, in order to reach that intimacy portion in marriage, in relationships, why is communication important?
Because transparency is important. People don't know if they don't know. If we're not willing to open up. But again, you can't open up to everybody. That's a part too.
We're talking about
communication with God or
that spouse.
Between,
we're talking,
with
yeah,
spouse.
we're talking about spouses.
He's
right
me,
now. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've been on it for a minute. I've gotten this download for a minute.
And I've been out of town.
Yeah.
So, so important.
Yes.
I tell you one thing I noticed. We didn't have a lot of that when we were prior to you just even leaving. And then when you left, I realized how much I missed the intimacy of communication with you because it wasn't a lot. The way I wanted it to be, of course, because you're gone, you checked out, right? And now I'm like, I have so much to say, and I'm trying to send you scriptures, and blah, blah, blah. He wasn't trying to hear that at that time, but now that things are back restored, the one thing I notice is, like I said, our schedules are kind of been off a lot. And when we don't, I'm like, something's wrong. Like, something's off. And I'll go to I'm like, something's not right. Guess what? Because we hadn't connected for a week or two. Like we've been doing. And as soon as we connect and that intimacy comes in because we're communicating, I know where his head's at. He knows where I'm at. I know what he's going through. He knows where I'm going through. Our transparency, it's coming back to make sure we're covering each other the way we should. Is there any missing spaces and places? Because if you don't have that communication, that's when things go and things fester. Things come up. You're like, where did that come from? I didn't know you felt that way. Well, you've been harboring it for months, years, And then we wonder all of a sudden the person's gone. And that's kind of how our situation was all of a sudden he's gone. And I'm like, wait, whoa. We just talked last month about trying to get things on track. And then all of a sudden, I guess he had checked out somewhere and I didn't know it, so it was important now, especially with him back, like we have that communication piece down. Has to be there.
And then for women, and that's from the female side of it, and from the male side of it, communication is very important, because the truth of the matter is, no matter what that male is not saying, he really wants to communicate. But the one thing that's very imperative that all the ladies, you must understand, when that male communicates, what he wants you to do, he wants you to hear him, hear his heart. When he says, hey, there's an issue on my job, or hey, I'm dealing with this bill thing, or hey, this, that, and the other, and he wants you to listen without being ready to speak, as if to say, why? I mean, why are you getting all bent out of shape over that? Or why this? Or, you know what? You sound a little weak. Because let me tell you, the moment you belittle the man in your life, that would probably be the last time he will communicate. So what will happen is you have all these men running around who would love to communicate with their spouse, but a lot of times the reason why they don't is because the fear of feeling like they're less than a man, or this, that, and the other. Because the truth of the matter is, when we leave the home, and when I mean leave, like we're going to work, you're doing your thing, and he's got to go to a seminar, or he's going to go make some money, whatever. When that man's alone, he is thinking about what's going to happen with the house. How do I pay for this? How do I pay for that? What about the bills? What about the kids? And I got to provide, and I've got to, and there's a whole lot of things that I've got to, and truthfully, he's trying to hold it together, and he wants to communicate. So each person has to be receptive to hear. And just like the man wants to be heard, the woman wants to be heard as well. So for those you men that are listening, you also have to be able to listen to what your spouse is saying to you, because communication is important, because she also wants to be heard. And I know sometimes you don't want to hear it all, and sometimes because when they communicate, it goes on, and it goes to a different thing and a different thing and a different thing. But the goal is to effectively listen and not go, all right, I've heard enough. You don't want to cut it off, because depending upon the person that you're with, you cut them off, that may be the very last time they ever decide to communicate.
I have something.
Yes.
Because you touched on something. Because we're talking to standards, we're talking to prodigals who are listening. It brings the question up, because there's a lot of questions that we do receive on communication. When do I communicate? Is it okay? Just this week, it's been a lot on communication.
Yeah.
And from your standpoint, when we talk about you being out of the home, though, like gone because you left us as prodigals, that communication is hard, because you miss that person, and we're wondering what's going on. So I've heard things to the point like, okay, I haven't heard from my spouse in years or months. How do I handle that? Or maybe the standards at a point like, I've had enough, like I can't take it right now. I just need to end that communication. And then you have sometimes where, and you would do this sometimes, where you would communicate and you're like, hey, how are you doing? Just checking on you. And it's like, if you're so checked out, why are you checking on me? And it's just like that battle of feeling like, do I leave the lines of communication open in this time? Am I bringing in that intimacy because it's going to draw him or her home? Or do I settle it? And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's a fluctuation, because I experienced it all with him. It was times it was like, why is he contacting me? And there was times like, why is he silent? Like, I need to speak to him, and then there was times where I just wanted to go dark because I needed that space. So, but from your prodigal side, I know you can't speak from everybody, but give us a little insight. Why is that communication so like that on your guys' part? Up and down,
roller coaster.
Yeah, or why would you shut down so much, even though a piece of you guys still has maybe a desire for us? So can you talk on that?
And that's tough, because truthfully, what ends up happening is, depending upon And again, everyone's relationship is different. And for those of you that are listening, especially the women, only you know or have an idea maybe of why your spouse, your prodigal, walked away. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But as far as the communication piece goes, let's start off with those that have, number one, left the home. They've been gone a month, 2 months, 2 years, whatever that is. And you're just like, oh man, I'm not sure exactly if I should communicate. Let's start with that. If I should communicate.
It's a big one.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I should communicate, because there are some that are saying, I don't think I should communicate. I don't need to do anything. I'm just waiting on the Lord. Well, truth of the matter is a lot of times while we're waiting on the Lord is waiting for us to do something too. And it's very important in the way you do communicate if you decide that you want to communicate. Remember that if in fact you're the one that wants to reach out to that prodigal, that husband, or you're the husband and you want to reach out to that wife, remember while you're going through this waiting period, there should also be a communication this way already going on. There should be a communication between you and God. There should be a communication to where you're getting into that word, that you're fasting, that you're praying. There's a scripture that talks about this kind comes but by prayer and fasting, right? So when you start going through, because you're up against the enemy, you should already have this vertical communication going with the Father. And then while you're getting ready to, hey, I want to communicate with my prodigal, husband or wife, then if God has been doing something in your life already, and there's a change in you, there's a love in you that he's put down, he's got a fire down the inside, there's a hold on you that God is just solidifying and protecting you and covering you and letting you know that it is time. You have to understand when you get ready to reach out and communicate, the goal is to put beef jerky out there. Yeah, I said that. You're like, wait, what? That don't make any sense. Beef jerky, because if you give them a whole steak, they're not ready for a meal. Because you don't know the mindset of that prodigal. You don't know where they're at in their prayer life or their walk with God or the lack thereof. You don't know what they're going through in their personal life, possibly. Maybe you've heard about it, or maybe you've been trying to track them down through Instagram and Facebook. Don't do it. Okay, just don't do that, because
not that type of communication.
Yeah, not that type of communication, because what you're doing, if you're looking at all the stuff they got going on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Byte and LinkedIn and Twitter, yeah, and all that, and you're looking at everything, what's going to happen is you're going to go through this whole discouraging moment, and you're going to get so fed up. I can't believe they're doing this, and I can't believe. The goal is first the vertical relationship. And then the horizontal relationship. And then when you begin to reach out, remember again that beef jerky, you gotta, hey baby, I just wanna let you know I still love you. And the door is already open. And whenever you're ready, I'm here. God loves you, and so do I. That's all that needs to be said. Not a whole lot of, well, what you gonna do about this? And what you gonna, because remember, that's probably why they left.
Yeah.
You can't get into that, because again, if you've got that vertical relationship already going, that means the Lord's already done something to your heart. He's already brought forgiveness to you. He's already got peace into you. He's already sowed into you a whole lot of things, because now, since you now God's dealing with you, you become now that priest. Yes, I said it. You become the priest, because now you have to show them a different side of what they left. You have to show them the love of God, because remember, some people, they won't know God except through you. Sometimes the only God people will ever know is how you communicate, how you love on them, how you forgive, and how you let go. How God says, He throws those things into the sea of forgetfulness, never to remember them no more. Don't think that for 1 minute that there won't be later on discussions about some different things. Understand it, granted, that is valid. But when communication, you're trying to reach out to that prodigal, it's got to be in love. It doesn't have to be a huge, please do not send long scriptures and passages and huge love things that are 15 miles long and 5-10 page letters. Give them the beef jerky. Just, I love you. I miss you.
Wait.
And
I sent you a 14-page letter.
yes, she did.
And he kept it.
Yes, I kept it. But you know how long it took me to read that?
But do you guys know?
I didn't read it in one moment. I sure did.
That was all God given.
Yes, as soon as I opened up that thing and I saw, I went like this. Oh,
but didn't
Lord.
you text it?
No, Lord, no, she didn't.
You emailed me and said, did you really mean everything? But it took a month, like a year even.
Right, because because what ended up happening is I didn't read it right away. I read like the first portion. I'm like, I'm not reading all this. I'm not reading all this. She tripping. Because truthfully, when God's done a work in your life, the standard, when God's really done a work in your life and that prodigal has left, they gone. They doing whatever they are doing. They might be back in the club. Who knows? They might still be in church doing some other different things. But whatever they're going through, when they get something that's long-winded and all that kind of stuff, you're just like, oh my God. And then you wonder, okay, is this for the moment? Truthfully, that's what prodigals are thinking. How long is it going to last? How long am I going to get these 10,000 page letters? How long am I going to get these encouraging emails? How long? And they think that you're going to go back to being what you used to be. So in this communication piece, the God that you know is the God they need to see. And the God they need to see is the one that comes through your love, through your communication when talking to them. Because understand, you don't want them to come back the way they used to be. Because now you've changed. There's some things going on inside of you that God's just blessed and lifted up. And you don't want that same spouse. You want the person, but you don't want all the characteristics that were negative to come back with that spouse. You want to change in them too. So you have to be very careful how you communicate to that spouse.
I knew that communication, that long letter, let's go back to that.
Oh, Lord.
I knew, I put your picture on it and everything.
Yeah, she did. She had like
perfume on it.
Oh, man.
I saved a copy. There's a digital copy as well. But I'm going to tell you guys something. I think that was the first year you left.
It was.
And I sent that to you. You held on to it. He held on to the original copy too. So as much as it hurt me in that moment that he didn't receive it, I want you guys to hear this because it does. It hurts. Sometimes we don't know, and it might have been too early of a season for me to put it out there, granted. But I knew there was something I had to get out that was in a loving manner that God had me to do. And I'm glad I did it, even though it hurt then. Because guess what? It came time to restore our vows. And that very letter, I already written my vows in there.
She did, yeah.
I did. And I was able to pull it. God said, pull up that letter. I had it on my phone that day, the morning of. And I pulled it up.
The morning of.
The morning of. Because I'm thinking, what do I say? I feel like I said it all. Wow. You know, I sent every scripture. You know, you go through this. You write. I had 4 journals. I planned mine.
She went digging. Let's see, what do I have from previous that I can...
No, I didn't. I had 4 journals of stuff. Somebody called, one of my sister girls called that morning and prayed over me. And I'm like, God, just give me the words. Because I wanted everything to be right? So you're really contemplating and thinking. I've always done my best work at the last minute anyways in school. But anyways.
The last minute.
Yeah.
Last minute restoration.
And God spoke to me. He's like, pull up that letter you sent Sean the first year that it had. And I literally started reading and it was like, oh my God, there are my vows. I tailored it a little bit, of course, but right there in the first like page or 2. So, I mean, there's some good that can come. I don't want to discourage people. It's just, you really, even if you think, oh my God, I made a mistake. There's so many times I'm like, oh, I could shoot myself for sending him that text right now because I know it's not good timing or his response was negative or no response. But all in all, I couldn't be so hard on myself because everything I sent was in love. And it was. Everything I sent was in love. He can't say I sent him stuff ugly.
No.
Not meaningful.
It wasn't. She didn't send me nothing messy.
And then if God told me to do it and he still didn't respond, that's okay. He'll get it eventually, but so don't be discouraged if you felt like I reached out, he didn't communicate back. Their minds at the time, you have a good one now, but at the time they're not them. They're not who they are. They're not trying to hear anything about God. They're not trying to hear from us. They're running from the very thing. And we have God all up in us, right? As we're going through this process, or we're trying to grow that relationship. So just don't be discouraged in that. Just know God's going to use every bit of what we do for a purpose. And so now we can even communicate it back now, like, hey, remember when you sent me such and such? And yeah, I remember those times. And it was like right on time. You didn't know it. But as we go back through and compare notes, that communication was really good.
And that's why I said the vertical relationship is very important.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes, I'm not going to say sometimes, the Lord will lay stuff on your heart that's just something that's quick. It's not a long, drawn out poem. It's something that's just encouraging. And it's just real quick. It's not 10,000 sentences, but it's something real quick. And I remember at the time, at my job, I was just dealing with some stuff. And I was honestly like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day dealing with this mess, this garbage. Okay. And my phone did this. Bloop, and I'm like, what? It's too early in the morning. And I mean, it was real early in the morning because I was starting the shift at the time, like between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, opening the doors, opening the building, and all that. And probably right around 4 o'clock, the associates already showed up. You know, I was giving them the lay of the land and what the requirements were for the day. And my phone again made that noise, and I'm like, what is this early? And Adrian had sent me was a quick text, and what it was a simple Bible verse slash thought. And believe it or not, that very thing that she sent, and we hadn't talked, we had not talked, was the very thing that I needed to hear to get me through that day. So I'm saying to you that when you're sending things or trying to communicate, it's very important that you also put yourself in the receiver's seat, not in your own mind's eye. You think, well, how is this going to be received? If I were to receive this, being where they are possibly currently, how would I? So even though the message doesn't change, how you deliver it, the wording and everything is very imperative that you look at that and think as a receiver, receiving that message to see exactly how it's going to be taken.
Yeah.
Because that might be the very message that draws them in, or it could be the very message that keeps them away. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything possible, that you're communicating. When you do communicate, you communicate from the posture of love. Yeah, very important.
Yeah. Even with that, we don't always get it right. I'm going to tell you guys, and it's okay. It's okay. God is there to go, you know what? It's okay. He's not there to punish us. He's not there to say, oh my God, I didn't tell you to send that. Sometimes we think we're doing the right things. Even we think, oh, I thought I heard from God this way. And it seems like, oh my gosh, did I do that wrong because of the response? Or the non-response, or you just knew. I just know that person's going to receive this. And so, but I just want the standards to know, because that's a super, super sensitive place to be in, vulnerable place to be in, because you're trying to pour your heart out. And you know you're doing this. You know you're praying. You know you're relying on God for your every word, for your every move. And then to think, oh, God, I made the wrong move. God has you.
Yeah.
He's not going to punish us for that. He's not, oh, I'm going to just delay you because you did this. No, especially when he knows. Like, he knows our heart.
Yeah.
He knows what's behind our heart. You know, and there's times I wanted to communicate and just be like, you know, he knows that part too. And I got it out and I deleted it, you know, let it go. And I jumped in my prayer closet, because that communication at the time, that's another thing, was more important than me trying to hit him up here.
Yes.
And sometimes things, as we call, me and my friend were saying, things go dark. I'm shutting down. I gotta just,
Zero dark 30.
yeah,
Really.
I'm going in deep, you know. Y'all know who you are. But
Don't let us call your names. No.
no, we won't. But yeah, you know, we have those moments where you have to go dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you need to get here.
Right.
This is what's important.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
that posture.
I'm not going to have the right things here to say to this person to hear.
Yeah.
And that can go all bad. And so I do encourage people sometimes, if there's just something not good to say, or you feel, you know, kind of funky in your heart, or, you know, something's just going awry, you're just like, I'm feeling some kind of way. I say just time out for a second.
Yeah.
Go here. Get filled here. Hear from here. And it's not, sometimes it could be 5 minutes. Sometimes he calls us to go deeper. And that's kind of the word we got this weekend. And it's true. And it just brought me back. When I tell you guys, oh, you know, people could tell you to pray, oh, go worship God. But sometimes that intimacy is real. Like, it's deep. You have to soak in the Lord to get past something sometimes. And sometimes that comes with a fasting period. Sometimes you may not walk out of your closet for hours, for days. That has happened. There have been weekends. I was just posted in the closet. I didn't feel like moving. Like, seriously. I'm like, okay, let me grab my blanket.
That closet was real, too. I've seen exactly. Oh,
he
yeah.
got trapped in that. This sounds really bad, what I'm about to say. But
no, we're not. We just going to move right on.
No, he got trapped in the closet. I know that sounds bad. But he got trapped in the closet.
Not the trap that y'all think.
No.
It ain't that like the song?
No. That's why I said it sounds bad to say. But
in a nutshell,
in the Holy Spirit closet.
I'll be brief. I was brought in to take a look-see. And then after a while, the door closed behind me. And then it was like, oh, no, we need to go in. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, Lord didn't prepare me for this. And yeah, we were in there for a minute. So I get it. And that's why
was the place.
Yeah, that's why that vertical relationship, both men and women, is so important. Because without the vertical relationship, how do you know what God is telling you to say? How do you know what God is telling you how to respond? And I know we're talking about those that have left, but let's shift a little bit and let's talk about some of them that are on the verge, or they're just living as roommates in the home that are dealing with this communication issue. What do you recommend from a wife's standpoint in dealing with communication, dealing with that one that's in the house?
First thing, hush mouth grace. I'm serious, because you know that scripture talks about you sending a man on a roof because what? You know your scripture's really good. Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, but she's going in, so I'm just going to keep on going.
But you know what I'm talking about? That sends a man on a roof because of the nagging.
Right.
Or he's tired of hearing the same old thing. And sometimes we have to get in a quiet place and just have hush mouth grace. And if there's nothing I say but loving things, let me get to that place, God. And sometimes I always thought, okay, let me just have hush mouth grace, because if I say the wrong thing to him, that's going to connect to him in a negative space. And then that's going to bring a whole bunch of other things out that I didn't want. And it's going to destroy some things in the relationship, that breaks up some things that we didn't have to go through. So having that hush mouth grace and going to your father to handle it, I didn't know how real that was until I knew how real it was. It's like, okay, let me test you. You know, God says, test me by my spirit.
Yeah, prove me. Yeah.
Prove me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to see if God can handle it. He told me to bring things to him, because there's some things I can't force him to do. He's his own person. He's his own man. He has his own thoughts. He has his own way of thinking and processing things. But sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes we're wrong. But in certain cases, there's some things that were just like, you're wrong. Like, I know he's wrong. He's not even trying, you know? And so I go, okay, God, I'm going to try you. And I would just put it in prayer to God. God, I release it to you. I give you full authority. This is your child before he's my husband. So go ahead, have your way, however he needs to hear it, whatever needs to be done. Can you do a work? And I've done that before. And I left it. And sometimes when I did that, I really left it. Like, I didn't remember I left it. And all of a sudden he's like, hey, I was rethinking about this and I feel this way about it now. And it just smoothly, because I allowed God to deal with him. God had to deal with his heart, his inner man, and he has to change him. I can't do it. And that's many times we think, oh, we can talk somebody into something, or we can sweet talk you, hey, baby.
Or we can make some food.
And sometimes we can, but that's the little things. But when there's harder issues to tackle, that temporary stuff just don't work.
Right.
So my advice is to hand it to God, but don't mistreat them.
Yeah.
Still respect them. Still show them love. Still make your dinners. Don't throw your plate at the table.
Oh, man.
I used to do that sometimes.
Ooh, Lord.
Because I would be so angry. And I wouldn't say anything because I was a really quiet person. So I wouldn't necessarily say anything.
Yeah, her stuff came out in actions.
But my actions were like, here's your dinner. There you go. That's what you wanted, and he could feel that. Lo and behold. And he was like, okay, I see you. And that's not what I wanted. But I was so upset. Instead of going to my father, I'm thinking, oh, he'll see. And no, it was more of a turnoff than anything. It didn't bring him back to
I might have been hungry, but it was definitely a turnoff.
Yeah, it didn't bring him back to want to talk to me like, okay, baby, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And he didn't want to check on me. He was like, okay, I'm done with you tonight, So, and good luck if I talk to you tomorrow,
Now I know we talk about the whole Christ side of things and having a godly life and all that kind of stuff. But even in the world, there's a saying that talks about winning a bear with honey than with bees. Okay, so if you're the type that is always, whether again the husband and or the wife, to where you're always nagging, or you're poking at the bear, no matter what that is, you're giving them all the lip service, because now from a man's point of view, whatever the man is going through away from the home. Again, the man is built to be the umbrella of the home. The man is built to be the protector of the home. The man is built to make sure that the house does not get rained on. That's what the man is built to do. So when the man is away from home, he's dealing with all kinds of obstacles and demons and folk trying to set him up for this, and maybe possibly saying that he might lose his job, maybe layoffs and this and that. And he's trying to figure out, how do I still pay this? And how do I do that? And how do I do this? And how does this work? And then when he comes home after dealing with the devil all day, now because, at work he didn't have a choice. But when he comes home, that should be the place of peace. That should be the place where he can lay his head down and then know that the person he's with got his back. But then what happens is he comes home, and not only did he leave the devil at work, he now comes home to the devil at home. And many times I'm not going to say many times, that's going to hurt your marriage. That's going to hurt your communication. And even with the man talking to the woman, there's a way that you need to communicate to that woman. So if you're the man that's at home, and your wife is doing whatever she's doing, and you guys are not communicating, there's a certain way that you need to communicate. It's not about, if you're walking around, man, saying that I'm the man of the house, I pay this and I'm that, you wouldn't have this without me, you are not the man of the home. A man in the home does what he does without reminding anybody what his job description is. He does it because that's what he's supposed to do. That's the characteristic.
Like a queen.
Right. So, but with that being said, is as the man, you just need to make sure that you're, number one, doing your job as a man of that home. Whether it's dealing with the man with that wife and also the man of those children. If there's children in the home, you, my friend, need to be present with those children. And if you're not being present with the children that whether you've adopted, whether you call your own, or whether you brought into this world, then you need to question what type of man are you really bringing to the table to your spouse. Because in this whole communication piece, it's not just the vertical communication. and the horizontal communication. If there's children involved, it's also a communication below to be able to communicate with those children and be present and be able to connect with that woman and be able to just talk about some things and listen, because the woman dealing with stuff on, especially if you have a working woman, she's dealing with stuff on her job too. And you have to be able, just like you want her to listen to you when you come home, you've got to be able to hush mouth grace and listen to what she has to say when she comes home. How was your day? Tell me about it. So what all happened? It's amazing how I know so many people on her job that I haven't even met yet, because I hear about some of the different scenarios and different people. Just like she knows, well, actually she's met a lot of people on my job, but the simple fact is, because there's a type of communication that we're fostering and continue to foster, and each one of you need to foster that communication, and it all comes through love. But the key thing in everything is listening, because I know a lot of times we wait to speak. We wait to ask questions. It's like, hurry up. Okay, so anyway, what I was going to say is, and you're so busy trying to discuss what you got going on, when in actuality, you're supposed to listen to what they have to say, because the spouse wants to be heard. Whether the husband wants to be heard, and also the woman wants to be heard.
Or
And
even
you have to be
more
able to do it.
so, the communication doesn't even have to be verbal sometimes, from a woman's standpoint.
Oh, the face.
Because I remember when I would come in and I worked a long day, I still had 4 small kids to take care of. I still had dinner to do. I still had to bathe them. I still had homework to do. Then I'm having to get my prayers in, or just some time for me, getting my shower and all that. And it's like, there were times, it wasn't all the time, but there were times he could have been tired too, I'm sure. But sometimes
She wanted my help.
I wanted his help.
Yeah, she wanted me to pitch in.
I don't want to talk about my job. Most of the time I'm still like that. Like, I don't want to talk about the job. I just want to get some peace in my home too, where, can you just help me? Can you maybe make the dinner, or can you bathe the kids while I'm doing the dinner? And sometimes that's a misstep, because I know we do it all as women, but we don't want to have to do it all. That's why we have a mate. And sometimes if you wonder, that could be a reason too. Some women leave. They're like, if I'm going to do it, I'll do it by myself.
Pause that for a second, because I heard her say mate. But what's in front of that is help mate. Whether you're the man or the woman, if you're not helping, whether it's helping putting food on the table, helping getting laundry and or the dishes done, helping, let's say, make the bed, changing the linens, maybe cleaning the toilet that you just messed up. If you're not helping as a mate, you then need to question, are you really being a helpmate? Or is the other mate doing all the work? It can't be one-sided. We all have to be able to pitch in. And that's even another part of communication. As she said, sometimes she just, even the look on her face sometimes. She'll walk in the door, I'm like, hey, baby, how you doing? And she'll just look, and I'm like, what? And I'm just like, what's wrong? Let's talk about it. What's up? What's going on? And sometimes she'll be like, I don't want to talk about it right now. And I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about this later. But you sure you're okay? She'll be like, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, well, let's check it out, and then we kind of move on from that. But but those are the different things that you have to know, and you only know that in that communication is paying attention and being able to see.
Yeah.
Again, see into me. We have to be able to see our spouse, see the characteristics on our faces, both the man and the woman. And if you're not paying attention to what's going on physically, you're not going to effectively communicate, because you need to see.
Too.
Oh, yes. The spiritual aspect as well.
There's sometimes I could just go in my prayer closet, and this even goes for us as we're standing, right? We're in that closet and we're like, oh, I feel something. Something ain't right. Something's going on with him. And those were those moments you would get those texts, or, okay, God will instruct me to pray this way for you, because he's showing me by the Spirit, because a lot of this standing and waiting and is fought in the spiritual realm, right? It's fought in the spiritual realm. So you're getting firsthand sometimes what they're feeling, what they're going through. So even though the communication, that's another part of intimacy, even though the communication may not come verbally connecting with this person because they're gone, it comes through Christ. It comes through the Holy Spirit as you're in your prayer closet. That's why, you guys, that intimacy here is so important, because he could tell you some things, and he doesn't even. He speaks in so many ways.
Yes.
It's through the dreams. It's through other people. You could just be thinking it, and people would come up to me and be like, "Blah," and I'm like, oh, I hadn't said nothing. They don't even know. They have no clue, and they just gave me confirmation on something. So, but having that relationship, I might not have heard it that morning in my prayer closet, but it came through somebody else.
Right.
It came through a scripture later that day. It came through a vision I had in the middle of the day. It came through word of mouth from another believer or a dream. So he speaks in so many different ways. So it's so important, if we're doing this daily, you gotta hear. You're gonna hear, but that intimacy here.
Very important.
Especially while you're standing. And I feel a lot of time we get out of sorts because we're like, and I even do it to this day, like when we're not connecting, like I said, or I'm not praying right, it's like, something's off. Oh, let me go get in my closet. Yeah, because I'm not hearing right. And that's the off I'm feeling, right? Like, or I can't contain myself, or why is that bitter or angerness coming up all of a sudden? Guess what? I need some more time here. It's just what it is, whether you're worshiping, whether you are just in your closet laid out in silence and the music's going on, or the scripture's going on, or the words going on, that's still intimacy, but you're getting poured into, because that's another part of it. Sometimes God just wants to pour into us. He doesn't want to always hear us speaking, but he said, I have something to say to you. Just remain quiet, right? So I can pour into you. So.
And real quick, so we're talking about the importance of communication, and what I'm hearing now, because I know someone's watching and they're like, but I don't want anybody to see into me. Why do I need anybody to see into me? And questioning your relationship. You're going through a struggling time in your relationship, but then you're wondering, why should you have anybody see into you? Because if you're not, as my wife talked about earlier, dealing with transparency, because when you're transparent, that means you open up yourself to be vulnerable. So vulnerability is another part of intimacy that is very important. Why vulnerable? Why should we be vulnerable?
I know with my stand it helped me, because it was a time I wasn't vulnerable. I would hide things from my husband because it felt more comfortable. I felt I was protecting my heart. And through my stand and my journey with God, I learned that I'm protecting my heart from the wrong person. One, this is your husband.
Right.
You should be able to share. And so when I got that revelation, I became vulnerable in the midst of him mistreating me, doing his dirt, doing whatever he was doing. I was so transparent and vulnerable with him, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm just crying every day and letting him know all those emotional feelings. But it was like, he's like, how are you doing today? I'm not doing good. You're not home. Let's be honest. God is taking great care of us, though. So, but when you get home, I appreciate it. I would be that vulnerable with him.
That's true.
Because it's true. I'm going to tell you the truth. And I learned through that vulnerability that truth and love is real. Like, I can speak my truth in love.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be scared to speak my truth and think I'm going to have retaliation from you.
And it wasn't in venom either.
No.
Because I know some why is that important? Because, some people, well, this is just who I am. I'm just going to say whatever. I'm just going to say whatever. But what happens is we're speaking truth and we're spewing out venom.
Yeah.
Why should we be doing it in love and not doing the other?
Because God honors that. That's his word. He says, speak truth in love. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. In those scriptures. And as I begin to open the scriptures and they really begin to minister to my heart, and I really took the scriptures in where I could understand, and he opened those things up to me, I was like, yeah, truth and love. Why can't I speak my truth in love? But God said, always remember it in love. Don't get ugly. Don't get nasty, but speaking in love. And the moment I felt that I couldn't, those were the moments I did get quiet because I wanted to say things in love, even if it was my truth, and I really feel like that was super important. I can't look back and go, oh my God. I mean, there was moments, of course, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, I wasn't regretting the conversation or regretting what I said to you. Because it was real, it was honest, it was true. It was from the heart, not a stony heart either.
Yeah, we're going to get into that later.
So, yeah. So I'm glad I did. And it opened me up. And it was preparing me, which I didn't realize was preparing me. So when you did get home, oh my God, like it was so freeing for me to be able to sit there and we really have real conversations, whether, we have to have the intimate conversations of talking about where you've been, who you've been with, those kind of things. But it wasn't hurtful because he was able to speak back to me and feel comfortable and open enough to go, oh my gosh, she's been so open with me and she's spoken to me in such a loving way. And I can pour back that to her,
Yeah, because when someone's speaking to you in a loving way, from their heart, and they're being just open and transparent, and they're offering themselves, their heart, their mind to you. And even when they're pouring into you, telling you some different things about where they're at, when they begin to ask you a question, you don't feel weird to be able to do the same thing. It's reciprocated. And that's very important, that because how you respond and you talk to your mate in love determines exactly how this next matter moves, this next discussion, this next question, this next statement. The other thing is, when you're really trying to communicate, you can't be be sitting like this and just touched it. You can't be trying to communicate and then have your tablet in your face, your computer in your face, your phone in your face. Turn those jokers off. Move them to another portion of the room. Put them things on airplane mode, and really have a discussion. Really be able to ask those questions. Really take the time to listen to what your spouse has to say, because that is very important. Now, this is only phase 1 of See Into Me. We have a lot more coming your way. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, I just wanted to say on top of that, like there was no retaliation from me.
Right.
A lot of times we think, okay, when he comes home, how am I going to respond? How am I going to act? But if you are truly being prepared in your heart to communicate with your spouse by God, by actually acting out and speaking his word, where his word transforms your heart and becomes a part of who you are on a daily basis, you don't have to be concerned with that. Like when he was able to open up to me about things that could potentially he think could hurt me because of where he's been or who he's been with, it didn't. There was no retaliation in that. And if I did feel some type of vulnerability even in that, I'd be like, I feel a pain point here. Let me tell you why. And I would still be able to go in even deeper. And so now I can blurt out something. It could be something that, we have triggers. That's who we are as people. But even if a trigger came, I can talk to him and go, you know what? I just had a trigger because blah, 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 blah. He'd be like, okay, let's talk about it, baby. Where before he'd be like, what is wrong with you? I don't, because it would come out wrong, right?
Right.
So it's just a transforming experience. It's so worth it. It's work, sure. But if we do the work now while we're waiting, it's just going to be such a prize. That's one of the true blessings that you'll be able to experience when they come home. So,
and if I were to close with this comment, just remember this. It's not what you say. It's how you say it that determines the outcome and the direction of what happened next. This is Uncommon Love. I'm Sean.
And I'm Adrian.
Stay tuned for the next chapter of See Into Me. Bye
Love you
for
guys.
now. Love you.